having to change like in the car or, the typical um, uh, janitor's closet room, having to dress in that. And I know like playing spring hockey with the boys. The one year I didn't make it, and I think it was just because I was a girl, and which is okay. And I soon realized that sometimes it's hard being the only girl, especially when you're playing hockey.
Welcome to Rinkside Rundown, the podcast that puts you right in the heart of women's hockey. I'm your host, Chris Sinclair, and each week I'm on a mission to showcase the incredible women who are lighting up the ice across the globe. Get ready as I chat with rising stars, seasoned pros, and all the game changers making waves in the world of women's hockey that you won't find anywhere else. So, let's dive into the exciting world of women's hockey and make sure to click that subscribe button so you never miss an exciting episode. Hello and welcome back to Rinkside Rundown, your go-to podcast for everything women's hockey. I'm your host, Chris Sinclair, and today I'm joined by Dayle Ross, a defender with St. Cloud State University. Dayle, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thank you so much for joining the show and being open to sharing your story. I'm really excited to get a chance to hear all about where it started, where you're at, and what's coming up next. You ready to dive in?
Of course, I'm excited to tell everyone my story.
Cool, and it's a great story to tell. And let's start where it all started for you. A good story has to have a beginning. And for you, what was it about hockey that, kind of drew you to the sport? And what are some of maybe your earliest memories as well?
Well, I think speaking as a Canadian, almost every Canadian is like born with skates. But obviously my brothers, they played hockey and it's been in my family forever. And that was like the biggest sport to do in town. So that's what I picked, and I had to play with the boys, of course. Had to show that I was meaner than them. From like 2 to 3, I played minor hockey. I wasn't allowed to play when I was 2 to 3, so I was a little bit too young, but I was able to practice with them, so I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, obviously I started playing hockey mostly because of my brothers, and I just kind of fell in love with it, and I wanted to be like the boys.
And when you think about your career now, as I mentioned off the top, being with St. Cloud, obviously, as you've mentioned, family has been, hockey, playing hockey, loving hockey, runs in the blood. What's it been like to have that family support for you throughout your journey thus far in your hockey career?
I think it's very important, and obviously my parents see that I really enjoy this, and obviously they did whatever they could to help me, and I really appreciate like all the long nights of them driving. One time I remember I wanted to get back for a tournament, and I was playing spring hockey or something, and I had to come back for a tournament, and we drove 5 hours, like stuff like that. I really appreciate them doing that, and being selfless. And I think the family support, without them, I wouldn't be able to be where I'm at today.
Hockey is filled with ups and downs. Could you talk about some of those challenges that maybe you faced early on in your career, and maybe certainly some of those that you faced as you've begun your or as you're going through your collegiate career as well?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously I grew up in northern Alberta and literally in the middle of nowhere. So there's not always a lot of female hockey players, or even female hockey players at a high level, because people don't want to move away from home, play hockey, or we just don't have the community support for female hockey. It's grown a lot since since growing up now, but younger, like having to change like in the car or, the typical janitor's closet room, having to dress in that. And obviously I played boys growing up and boys spring hockey, and I know like playing spring hockey with the boys, the one year I didn't make it, and I think it was just because I was a girl, and which is okay. And um, I soon realized that sometimes it's hard being the only girl, especially when you're playing hockey, and the challenges that come with that. I mean, it makes you grow as a person, but obviously it's difficult in the time, and you don't want other girls to feel the way that you feel. Um, and obviously, the game has grown so much just in the past 20 years. Uh, so, I mean, like, those difficulties have made me who I am today. So, I'm not mad that they happened or upset that they happened. Um, but definitely, those challenges, I think, make women as hockey players even stronger when they go through those things and that difficulty. And obviously, playing with boys, I think, makes you better. There's that edge, but there's also that there's always going to be challenges when you do play in a more male dominant sport.
How did those overcoming those challenges for you help you to grow into the athlete, sure, that you are now, but also the person?
Growing up, I had to train with the boys and work out with them. And obviously, that was, sometimes I would get feedback. Most of the time, they're very positive, always encouraging me. And you'd always get a comment here or there saying, like, why am I even playing hockey if I'm done after college? Or why am I playing hockey if it doesn't pay like the bills? And me thinking to myself, should I even keep playing hockey? Like, I love it so much, but is it worth it? Am I able to live? Am I, stuff like that, and questioning like what my future is gonna be like, and if I put all this work in, am I gonna end up nowhere? But obviously, like those questions I asked myself made me stronger because I think in the end I told myself I'm never gonna give up. I'll try everything I have, and if I don't make it, I don't make it. And if I have a great college career and ended at that, that's as long as I can say I did everything I could and tried to not prove everyone wrong, but try and prove myself, I guess, if that makes more sense. And obviously, as a person, I think when I was younger, I was a very shy person, not very confident. And growing up, I wouldn't stand up for myself. I wouldn't say anything back to the boys. I was just very quiet, very shy. And now I feel like that when I've been through that, and even difficulties now when I hear like see on social media, I see a comment that says girls shouldn't play um, hockey or stuff like that, or girls can't skate. I'm just like, no, like you can, like you see the development of our hockey, like it's at a high level. And now that I feel like if someone were to ask me that in person, I'm able to stand up and be like, no, I've worked hard for this. A lot of women have worked hard for this, and I think we should be proud of where we are and not have to shy away from that. So I think as a person, I'm a lot more confident, and I'm able to stand up for what I believe in, the hard work that all the women before me have done to get here, and also the hard work that I think I have done to get here.
I love that answer, and I appreciate the honesty in that. I think it's always interesting when you look back or you reflect on the challenges that you've had to overcome, and you really realize how yes, like you kind of said, they sucked at the time. They weren't easy to deal with. But look at where you are now, and look at how it's helped you to grow. Look at how it's helped you. Again, sure, on the ice obviously is important, but even more importantly, off the ice. And when we think about off the ice, not that I meant that to be a segue, but I'll take it. You are an athlete of many sports, and one of those is softball. You played in the Alberta Summer Games, and I want to know as well, when you look at your ability rather to play different sports and to compete at higher levels, how has that shaped you as an overall athlete?
It's nice because it's always something different than hockey, and I love playing hockey all the time. But it is something different, and you see a different community of sport, which is nice. But as a person, I think playing all those different sports, I get all these different connections, and obviously track and field. I did cross country when I was younger, and that helped a lot with my conditioning and running and learning how to sprint as well. And then softball, of course, like I actually played baseball, and before I moved over to softball, I really wanted to go to Team Alberta to try out for their baseball team, female baseball team. But I had Team Alberta hockey at the same time for U18. So I couldn't cross over, and I was like, okay, well, I gotta pick hockey because that's what you know, I think I'm better at and done my whole life. And then the next year, they're like, hey, why don't you come to softball? Like, you played at the Team Alberta um, summer games. Like, you should come play at a female level. So I kept playing till my first year of college. And obviously, playing at a higher level, it's kind of cool to see that my athletic ability could take me probably somewhere else in another sport if I really dialed in that sport. But I knew hockey was my sport. But obviously, as a person, I think I see different ways to train, obviously different ways to interact with people, different ways people interact in sports, as hockey's a very fast-paced game, and obviously a lot of, I feel like, emotions, where softball felt like time slowed down. I had to think a little more, but obviously softball is like, it's always a different community, and I think just playing all these different sports made me realize there's communities in every sport, and made me meet so many different people and learn from so many different people that it's made me grow into a better person. Because I think if I didn't have that diversity in being an athlete and enjoying other sports and not just being doing one single sport and maybe getting bored of it, I wouldn't enjoy it as much. But also those people, I think, is the biggest part of playing all those different sports, is making me a better person. As you get advice from them, you learn from their experiences. Obviously, they have great advice from the sport you're doing right now, and tips and little tricks that maybe I can use for hockey. So I think that would be the biggest thing when I played multiple sports, is yes, the training and the different kind of athletic ability I was able to build, but also the people that gave me all this advice and be able to make those connections.
Was there an intentional decision for you to play different sports? Because as you had mentioned, there were great benefits to playing different sports, like being able to sprint and work on your conditioning in different kinds of ways. Was there an intention behind doing multiple sports, or was it just you enjoy doing multiple sports and all of these other things were just just kind of great side benefits of being a multi-sport athlete?
I think I'm very well, my parents always tell me that I work out too much or I run too much. So I think I just was always an active kid, and I wanted to do everything. Like, I played hockey, and then I played volleyball at the same time, and then I also wanted to play basketball, and then I did badminton too. And it's like I did all these things within school, and since it's a small town, I had more of an opportunity to play all these sports. And since I was very athletic, it was easy for me to go sport to sport. Very fortunate to be athletic. Obviously, I did have an intention of playing them just because I enjoyed them, and I could be with my friends as well. And sometimes I took hockey really seriously when I was younger, and maybe doing another sport kind of let me realize that I can play hockey and still have fun as well as I played those other sports, realizing that.
Before we move on to your collegiate career, I think it's important to kind of look at the entirety of your junior career, if you will, and both on the ice as well as away from the ice, playing the various other sports you were busy playing as well. When you think about especially the high pressure tournaments, but just overall your experiences throughout your early days, how do you think that those experiences help to prepare you to take that next step into the NCAA and your collegiate career?
Where would you want me to start? Right at the beginning?
Let's start right at the beginning. Absolutely.
Okay, well, I played minor hockey in Spirit River till I was first year Pee Wee. I don't know what that would be. I know they changed the ages to like U10 or something like that, but I think I was like U11 at the time. I wasn't quite 12. Um, and the next year, my cousin was playing on the Grand Prairie AAA Bantam female storm team, and so I went to tryouts. I was obviously underage, and my dad's like, "Okay, it's extra skate." Like, all I wanted to do was skate all summer, so it was an extra skate for me basically. They let me do the camp, and the coach comes up to my dad and asks if I wanted to play, and my dad's like, "She can play another year Pee Wee hockey back home. Like, she doesn't have to come." And by the time we lived an hour away from Grand Prairie, so it was a long drive, hour 15. Um, so I would be driving almost every day or every other day. And so the coach comes up to my dad and asks if I want to play. And my dad's like, "She's only 11, turning 12. Like, I don't, like, you can take an older girl if you want." And he's like, "No, like, I have the ability to play. I should be able to play." And so my parents asked me, and I said, "Yeah, I would love to play." And at the time, my cousin was playing, and I was like, "Oh, I want to play with my cousin. Like, that'd be so cool." And I mean, I got to play with my family lots growing up, which was awesome, and play underage and go to provincials with them in our minor hockey. But playing bantams with my cousin was so much fun, and those girls are like 15, 16. So I'm this little squirt just buzzing around on the ice, and everyone's so much bigger than me. So I think the speed of the game was a big jump from Pee Wee to bantam. Um, Obviously, I played 3 years there, and it was hard to move away from my friends and be uncomfortable. But I really enjoyed the hockey, and even though I right after school, I go straight to hockey, and then I get home at 8 o'clock and I talk, do my homework, and then in the morning I'd go straight back to school. It's like I'd always be gone. So I miss my family a lot, and obviously my parents wanted me to play hockey. I'm very fortunate that they let me do that. And then the next 3 years, I played in Grand Prairie, and after that, I sat down and had a conversation with my mom, asking if I want to play AAA hockey or live at home. My mom said, "When you first asked me that when you were 12, I would say, no way, I would let you move away when you're 14. I'm not letting my little girl move away." And she said, "Now that I realize that you love it this much and that I can think you can overcome anything, we'll let you move away for AAA hockey." So I'm very fortunate of that. And obviously the St. Albert Slash wanted me. So I moved there. My first year is very difficult, not being able to ask my mom for a ride anywhere or walk anywhere, because in town you can walk anywhere. Everything's so close. But in St. Albert, I lived with the Pisanis, Sandro Pisani, amazing coach, and with his family. And I was always homesick. Like, it's obviously different living in the country to the city, and it's a big difference for me in going to school from 100 kids, less than 100 kids, to 700 kids or 800 kids. It's just a lot. And obviously doing that, it was really tough. And I think moving away from home at a young age really helped me as a college athlete, as I already knew when coming in freshman year, I knew exactly like how to cook. I knew how to take care of myself. I knew how to do these things. I knew how to, if I had trouble, I just need to call like someone to go pick me up and take me to the grocery store. And I knew what I was cooking that night. So I was very goal oriented and very organized, I would say, after I moved away from home and learned how to do those things. So I think that was a big step. And obviously playing in like SO Cup and U18 for Team Alberta made me realize the next level that I wanted to play in. So I think it kind of opened my eyes as like, okay, you can be a small town girl and be good at your town, but there's a sea full of fish that I need to compete with. And I'm a very competitive person, so it made it easy for me to step it up and compete more. But I think that was the most interesting part, is like I wanted to keep getting better. I wanted to try and push myself and be more competitive. So I think kind of like realizing that there's so many good players out there made me kind of want to push myself for that next NCAA level. And I knew coming in NCAA, like WCHA is really good hockey, and I didn't know if I was going to play. I didn't know what was going to happen, but I knew if as long as I worked hard and just kept working, maybe I could improve myself each year. And I didn't realize how fast the game was. And I mean, I made some mistakes, and I think, everything kind of happens for a reason. And moving away from home, seeing the next level of hockey, playing on Team Alberta, playing at SO Cup, seeing all these different levels of hockey really made me see that I want to make the next level and work towards that goal and play in the NCAA.
Okay, so before we I told you I was going to end up asking you 1,000 follow-up questions, and here's another one because I want to know before we head over to your collegiate career, having that opportunity right there to kind of reflect on your journey. Because with a lot of the time as an athlete, you're always thinking about how do I get better? It's always forward thinking. It isn't necessarily you don't necessarily spend a ton of time reflecting on how you got to where you are. You kind of have to stop yourself and actually be intentional, like, oh, right, how did I get here? Well, let me think about that. Having that opportunity right there to kind of look at your career, and especially to talk about those obstacles that you overcame earlier in our conversation. What does that mean to you, especially like when you think about now where you're at? Because we're about to talk about your collegiate career, but actually having the chance to reflect on how you got here, what did that mean to you?
Oh, it probably means more like emotionally and like as me as a person. I mean, growing up, it seemed like a lot tougher. Like, you're immature, you're younger. I was really shy at the time, so I didn't want to talk to anyone about anything really, or anything that was going on. And I honestly think when I think about those times, like all the times that I either like went home crying because I just wanted to make a team, or I was just upset that I had a bad game, or upset with what was going on. I think as a person now, I come into college and I'm like, I'm not that person that I was in high school, that I'm upset about a game. I'm upset that I, maybe accidentally put the puck in my net. I now realize that all those times meant something, and those times before made me who I am today. So I have to really appreciate the hard times that, everyone goes through to make you who you are today. And to be able to be in college and have already overcome most of those things, and already be like, oh, I can brush it off now because I've done it once before, I can do it again. So I think definitely, yeah, appreciating like everything that that could have went wrong, and I wish that didn't happen. I'm happy that happened because I wouldn't be here or be the person I am today, and I'd way rather be a better person than a hockey player. I know we're talking about hockey, but way better person than I am a hockey player. And all those things made me a better person, and I really appreciate all those things that happened.
And I think that's great advice for anyone who might be looking at a potential career in hockey, to kind of think about it. It's also, yes, again, it's great that you're a great hockey player and you continue to get better and evolve each and every game, each and every season, but it's even better that you're a better person. So I appreciate and I respect that. When we look now at your collegiate career, let's start where, it's just like before, there's a beginning. So we have to start where it began for you. When you were considering your different options, what was it about St. Cloud that kind of drew you to that route as opposed to a different opportunity?
I think at first, I know this might be bad to say, but living in a place that I only knew like U Sport existed. I like when I was younger, I'm like, I'm going to the University of Alberta. Like that's the only place I can go. Realizing that there was so much more to women's sports when I was younger, I was like, even in high school, I was like, the NCAA, like I've never heard of that. And then, I heard people signing, like there's people on my team signing at Clarkson and then um, some other places. And I was like, oh, I need to take a look into this. And I watched a WCHA game. I don't remember who I watched, but I couldn't believe how fast the hockey was. And I can't remember, we listed so many national team players from all these different countries on the roster. My dad and I was like their whole team is national team players. Like this is like the highest level we can play. And so I think looking at St. Cloud, I was like, I want to play in that league. I want to play against the best. Like I don't have to be on the best team, but I want to be on the best. I want to play against the best and maybe be with the best players. And I hadn't even like seen any of the teams or talked to any of the teams at this point. And I talked to my coach, and he's like, okay, like you have Yale. I had some other schools, NCAA schools. I don't remember. I'd have to look it up. Holy Cross, I think, was one, and Dartmouth maybe, and I just have to look again. But Yale is between Yale and I think St. Cloud State. And my mom asked me, she's like, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to play hockey. And I said, I love having education. Like no matter where I'm gonna go, I'm gonna get an education. And she's like, okay, but you can go to Yale, you can go to St. Cloud State. And she's like, do you remember that game you watched? And she was reminding me that I watched the WCHA game. I was like, yes. And she's like, okay, like that was the best hockey you've watched. I said, yeah. She's like, I think this is the right choice. And we're still talking. And this is like right before COVID and U18, or I think it was right after U18, Team Alberta. And I think Janelle, our coach, came and watched me at U18, and they asked me to come do a fly down. So I went and did a fly down, and I told mom, this is what I want to be at, 'cause it's small. The facility is really nice, and it's nothing I've ever seen before. And I hadn't seen anything else, so I just thought that was the best. And then obviously COVID happened, and I couldn't do any more fly downs. And I told my mom, I think this is the place I need to go. Like this is the school I want to go to. And she's like, are you sure? Like it's pretty fast. And I was like, no, like I want to go. And obviously Yale was a great school too, but I never got to go down or see it, which COVID kind of sucked because I couldn't go and see some more schools. But all I knew was like, I wanted to play in the WCHA. Like I know that kind of sounds silly, but that's like what I was thinking. Like, I just want to play against the best to become the best. That was my thought in my head as a, 16-year-old, 17-year-old. So I think that was my thought process. And obviously COVID, like I said, like got in the way of those things, and thinking where I was going to go. But I think really the league, I think, was the biggest thing for me signing St. Cloud.
What has your experience been like, especially, you've worked your way up now to captaincy and stuff like that. Like what has your experience been like at St. Cloud? Has it been everything that you were hoping it would be and so much more?
I think yes, and some things I didn't realize. Obviously, like coming in, we didn't have our freshman year, we didn't have the greatest season, and then it was like COVID, but not COVID. So like 1 or 2 weeks, there's girls on the teams that had COVID, and we couldn't play, and I think that was like weird to me because I didn't get a grade 11 or grade 12 year for hockey at all. So I was like, okay, like it's COVID again. Like, what do I do? Should I go somewhere else and play? Because I'm just not, like, we're not getting to play because of COVID. Like, I don't know what to do. And my mom's like, no, it's happening everywhere. And then the year after that, I was like, okay, I really like it here. Like, I want to stay here, Mom. And I was like, I know we didn't have a good year, but I trust it. And even talking with my dad, like, I think I should stay here. This is where I'm going to be. And they're like, okay, like, stay there. Like, if you don't have another good year and you feel like you're stuck, then you can leave. And I was like, no, like, I feel good here. Like, we had a bad first season, like, not the best season, but I trust that we're going to get better. And so the next year, Brian comes in and he changes the culture, and really teaches me like systems and different ways to play chess, and being able to have, trust in the process was a big thing for me. And it's hard at the time, but it's a big thing for me. And obviously, I think um, trusting in the process, and I really learned the little things in hockey. Like, I'm not a goal scorer or not this, but I'm elite at what I do, and I'm confident in that. And I think doing the little things right, and Brian being able to teach me and being able to play against those top players, like on those top teams, um, really helped me to become a better player. And staying in that league, I think, was one of the best. Like, not leaving is the best thing I've ever done. Like, I wasn't thinking about leaving, but I think like my first year I was questioning it because we didn't do so well, but I knew we were going to get better. Somehow I knew that we were going to get better. We're going to develop as a team. We seemed kind of like a younger team at the time when I first came in. But obviously, like, I trust in the process. I did skills every morning. I did extra. I shot pucks. I did all this stuff, and I had to kind of carve out a role for myself, if that makes sense. I knew that maybe if we're not as an offensive team like Wisconsin, I knew I could be elite defensively with my athletic ability. So I really focused on that, and I was like, I'm still offensive, but I need to focus on what I'm good at and what I can bring to the league. So I think I had to build over time to be on this team and really trust and learn that, you have to go through that hard time to get to the good time. And now that we're a top 10 team, like, it's crazy to think where we were like my freshman year.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that, but it doesn't surprise me to hear that it's crazy to think of where you were and where you are now, and where you are now is a testament, obviously, to the systems that have been put in place, but also individual growth. And I want to know for you, what does, as I mentioned, you being a part of the, core to the leadership group of this team, what does leadership mean to you? And how has that maybe changed, especially going through the experiences you have in your collegiate career thus far?
Obviously, I had to learn how to be a better leader from teams before, like when I was freshman, sophomore, before I got any leadership role. But I wanted to be a good leader because I knew that I didn't really, like, if I was scoring goals and, the top goal scorer in the WCHA, I didn't think that that's what I wanted. I wanted to be a good, like I said, I wanted to be a good person and be a good leader. And so I tried to learn from the people in front of me. And so, like, Clara Hidlarova, who's now in the PWHL, like, learned a lot from her. And, like, to be a team doesn't mean you have to have all the best players. It means you have to have the best team. So us changing that culture and making that switch to say, no, we can be a top 10 team if we change our culture, if we change our attitudes. Like, it was almost like learning about how to think a different way and how to believe we can be better. So I think definitely, like, as a leader, I'm really thankful that I was able to be a leader and be a good leader. Hopefully my team says the same. I just always brought the energy, and I wasn't shy no more. I was always outgoing, and I always brought energy all the time. And obviously my work ethic, my teammates say, like, my work ethic was my biggest role. Like, I always worked hard, and that's what I wanted to be known for. But obviously, as a leader, I thought I don't really care about any awards or anything. I care about my team and to be a good person to them. And that was my biggest goal. And that, I think, means a lot more to me than any other award that I would get, like, to be a good leader. And I think I achieved that. And obviously, I became a better person for it. And the biggest thing as a leader is you have to put others before yourself. And I think sometimes when you're a freshman, you're like, oh, I have to to work really hard. I have to, beat everybody. I have to kind of earn my spot on the team, which you do. But then when you become a little bit older, you realize that these girls are working hard for each other. They're not just working hard because they want to be better, at their national team or at next level. Like, of course they do too, but also they're working hard for the girl next to them. And I think that made me realize, with my eyes, that that's what makes a team, is if, we all work hard for each other and appreciate each other. So as a captain, I think that's what I learned most. And I don't know, I just think the biggest thing of being a leader on this team, biggest role is like, yes, it's an honor, but it's also like the biggest responsibility, and you have to be responsible for everyone and try and, hold them accountable.
One of the things that I hear you saying, and you've said this kind of either explicitly or implicitly a few times, is just how it's about being the best person. And, I think from what I gather from one of the things anyways that I gather from what leadership means to you is that you want everyone to just be the best person they can be, because then everything else will fall into place. Is that fair to kind of say there about your teammates?
Yeah, exactly. Like, our energy on the team is so different. Like, this year and last year, like, everyone wanted to be there. Everyone wanted to participate. Everyone, someone fell on the ice, we all laughed about it. It wasn't like, and you compete and you battle. And one time, me and this one teammate, like, we battled as hard as we could. We were tripping each other. We were like pulling each other off the ground, battling as hard as we could. But once we got up, we're so thankful that we were battling as hard as we could, because we're just making each other better. And that's what we wanted for each other. We weren't mad at each other. We just respected how much each other work. So I think, yeah, everything just falls into place once you want to be a better person. You want to make everyone else better around you.
What is maybe some of the biggest lessons that you've learned in your time thus far in the NCAA? I know obviously we've spoken a lot about leadership and how that's grown for you, and how that's really shaped who you are both on and off the ice. But what are some of those other things, and maybe especially for those young girls who are looking at potential career or potential collegiate or taking that step to their collegiate career, what maybe advice might you have for them as well in preparing for that, taking that next step?
Oh, that's a good question. I think obviously as a young girl, like, you don't know what to expect at the next level or even the next day. So I think the biggest thing, like, for me, it was trying to be egoless and trying to just absorb everything. And I try to be very, I think I'm very coachable, as I just want to take everything in, take all the information in, but also not to overthink everything. Like, I was very hard on myself. I was like, if I did, I maybe scored one game and then I let one go, and I like, oh, that was the worst game ever. Like, I had to figure out how to mentally think and mentally treat myself better. But also being humble enough to be like, I'm not good enough at this. I'm not good enough at this. Like, I need to get better. So that balance, I think, when you're coming up as a young player, is really hard, as that mental side is really growing, I think, for everyone, and everyone's maturing. Because girls, when they come into college, are very young. They're 18. They're not like guys where they've had junior already, usually. So I think that mental side is the biggest thing, and to, like, take it one step at a time. Because I know I always thought about, like, I was a kid and I was like, oh, I'm gonna go to national team. Like, I was like 11 years old. I had no idea. Like, I had to take it one step at a time and enjoy where I was at. And for girls, young girls, understand that, like, if you're in high school right now, just focus on where you're at right now. And focus on how you can be better right now instead of focusing on what's next. Because I think I was like that a bit. And I was like, okay, what's next? What's next? I was like, no, I have to enjoy my work that I'm putting in right now and be okay that that's enough for right now, and that it will get me to the next step. So probably that mental piece and that kind of just being in the moment.
I feel like what's great about that advice is that advice is I was going to say cross-platform for whatever reason, but like it's both, it can work both as an athlete, but also for an everyday person like myself who is not an athlete. That kind of like be in the moment. Something that I hear often is be where your feet are. That's a saying that I've heard a lot of people say as well, is, you know, just really embracing where you are right now. And like you said, what's great is also just being okay with that, which isn't easy, especially as an athlete. Do you find yourself struggling with that sometimes where, you know, as an athlete, again, you're always like, I got to get better. I got to get better. I got to get better. And then you're like, but I don't have time to reflect. Do you find you struggle with kind of finding that balance?
Oh, all the time. That was my biggest struggle. I always wanted to be better the next day, and I was like, okay, oh, I'll just work harder. Or I'm worried about the game tomorrow. I was like, oh, I'm so stressed for the game. Why am I stressed right now? I should be stressed during the game. When I when I go into games, I'm, going into warm up, and I'm like, I'm in warm up. I'm preparing for the game right now. And then I go into off ice warm up, like I'm preparing to be on the ice right now. And then once we get into the game, I'm like, I'm on the ice. I'm in the game right now. So that mindset change where it was like, instead of, I know people say next shift, next one, I was like, okay, I've done that shift. Now I'm doing this right now. So it was a different mindset for me, and it took me a long time to figure out. Like freshman year me, I was, like mentally, like it was really hard, and get upset with myself. And now I'm able to control my emotions, control my thinking, and that's one thing that's really nice in life too. Like when I'm done hockey, I'm gonna be able to be in hard moments and be like, okay, I'm in this moment right now. Like I'm okay with being in this moment right now. For the next one, I'll be in that one. So like you said, yeah, having my feet under me, it took me a while, and definitely I still need some, time to adjust. I'm really young, but it did take me like my full 4 years to figure that out.
When you have had the opportunity to also dip your toes into coaching, being a power skating coach as well, um, how would you say your time in the coaching realm has helped you to become a better player? Or how do you think your time in coaching has helped you to become a better player?
Obviously, I always loved working with kids, and always working, like no matter what it is, on the ice or doing something that involves hockey. But I think, interacting with those kids and even their parents gets you to open up and be more confident talking to others. Like I said, I was pretty shy, so it really helped me to be able to talk to others and different personalities, how to interact with different personalities. Not everyone's the same or will approach you the same way. But also just watching like how other kids skate, and how my Tanya Cormish, she's my boss for power skating, how she talks and explains things, and being able to understand things at a different level, from a skating perspective, which I'm very thankful for. And I'm a very good skater, I would say, and I think that's helped me a lot to be noticeable in my own skating, but also working with those kids. Obviously, like they all have these different personalities, and um, they're all going through their own things, and you learn a lot from them as well. Like, um, there's some kids that might have might think they're the best skater on the ice, and you have to tell them like, no, you always have to work hard for things, and they learn from you too. And then you also have these kids, they really enjoy hockey, or there's some kids that just don't want to be out there, and you tell them that like, if you enjoy it, like you just gotta find things that you enjoy. So it's just being able to probably communicate with them. And when we play games, I always ask them like, what games do you want to play? Like, we're here for you guys. And that's the biggest thing, I think, is I've just seen a big difference in my ability to communicate with others, and my confidence in speaking, and um, being able to like help those kids out and tell them what I've learned. And they teach me a lot too. So it's always good, the relationship just between each other.
It blows my mind to hear that you haven't always been as confident in your speaking and being, communicating and stuff like that. It blows my mind because you're doing a great job. So it shows the growth that you've gone through. So this is testament to that.
Yeah, I can tell you a funny story from high school. I was doing a presentation and I couldn't even talk to someone one-on-one if I didn't know them. And I almost fainted doing a presentation, which is pretty funny. And now I can go to, when I went to college, I was doing presentations all the time for class. And I was phoning my mom. I was saying, I didn't faint, Mom. I didn't lose sight. I did nothing. I could do it. So it's pretty cool to see myself. I can't imagine myself like that again, but it's pretty cool to see myself where I am now.
Especially as someone who, and you've mentioned this before, going through your junior career and even early in your collegiate career, there wasn't that next level, right? It was either to play in, rather. There was either the national program, which is what you've mentioned, or something like, the SDHL, which is a tremendous league. But obviously that would be a big jump going from North America all the way to Europe. And there would be a lot of adjusting to do in that regard. Knowing now that there is the PWHL and seeing the reception, which I'm sure to a degree at least isn't surprising for people who have been around women's hockey to know that there's a passionate fan group there. But to see the reception, to see, now games are being broadcast on TV and collegiate games, even, for example, down in the States are being broadcast up here in Canada. To see the growth of women's hockey and to see the PWHL be as successful as it has been thus far, a year and a half into its existence, and it's only uphill from here. What does that mean to you when you look at your path and what could be next and hopefully will be next for you?
Yeah, obviously, it's amazing to see that finally, I went and watched, I can't remember what it was before the PWHL. I went and watched some of their games and I was like, I just wish they could have more fans. I just wish they could have a place they can stay and play, just like the normal NHL. And to be able to see that and finally see it come into play, and obviously so many people worked so hard for it. I was like, it's just nice to see now that the support's coming and you can tell that it's growing. And that was my one fear, that it wasn't going to grow, that we weren't going to have that fan base, like you said. But now that we have that fan base and you can see the growth, there's so much more faith in it. And to hopefully maybe play at that level would be pretty cool. I've played with a lot of those players, which is crazy to think about. But to play at that next level, and to like I said, I love to be competitive and be able to push myself. It's pretty cool to see, because I thought, after college, that's all I had. I don't make the go over to Sweden. I was going to be done. And I said, the only way I can keep playing is if I make national team. So that was my thought. And now that there's so much more hope, and I can, keep playing for longer, maybe hopefully keep developing and become better. And now I can do it for a living, which is really cool, I think. And that's what I've always wanted since I was little, and to be, an NHL player and just play hockey all day. So I think it's really cool for us girls coming up, and even younger generations, they actually have something they can strive for. It's not just the unknown now.
I would be remiss if I didn't ask, because unfortunately, like you said way back at the beginning, and I meant to ask it afterwards, there weren't a lot of those female hockey role models for you growing up. Knowing that you are now one of those role models for the next generation, for this generation, but also the next generation of women's hockey players, what does that mean to you?
I didn't even think about that. But obviously, it's pretty important for us to keep working hard and keep pushing the next envelope. And you know, like those girls are going to go through the same challenges that we are. And we have to understand, like, we're doing it for them, for when we were younger, for those girls that are younger. So I think it means a lot. Like, it's, you don't realize that this is a big step that's happening when we're talking even in women's sports. And I think that's something we should all be proud of and hopefully keep growing. But obviously, I think it doesn't hold us on a pedestal, but it kind of shows that, like, anyone can do this and any little girl can make it now. So I think it's cool that now I'm kind of like in that role, because I still feel like I'm not in that role, because I look at the PWHL players, so I'm like, oh, I played with them, and I'm like still looking up to them like they're, you know, my role models, and they are. And if I do ever play with them, I'm probably gonna be a little fangirl, but obviously I just really appreciate where I am today and do it for those little girls.
I love that answer, and I think that's perfect place for me to not ask any more follow-up questions and to just dive into the rapid fire question segment of the show. And again, this is rapid fire. You can take however long you want to take to answer the question, but I will do my best to restrain myself from asking any follow-up questions. Are you ready to take the rapid fire questions quiz?
Yes, I'm ready.
Perfect. What is your go-to pregame meal?
So it's probably chicken and maybe like pasta.
What is your favorite cheat meal or your snack, your cheat snack?
Well, you can ask anybody, and every day I think I have, they're called Brookside chocolate covered blueberries. I think I have them every day, and I have just like one or two or maybe a little handful, but that's my like cheat. Like, I can stay away from anything but those.
I can attest to the fact that I can no longer buy them because I will eat the whole thing. I do it every time. I don't regret it.
Yeah.
I just want to be clear. I don't regret it.
Yeah.
Do you have any game day superstitions or pregame rituals that you have to cross off your list before puck drop?
Oh, well, there's like, every game day I usually do the same thing every day. Like, or every game day I'm pretty strict. But usually I have to chew a piece of gum before we go for ice warm-ups. And before I go on the ice, I usually knock on wood. If I'm thinking about something, like a swinging or something, I have to knock on wood 3 times. 1, 2, 3, and then I have to stay on the right side of the ice in warm-ups. And I actually have a lot now that I think about it.
This is great. But usually the answer is no, so this is fantastic. You actually have some. This is great.
Yeah, I have so many, but it's like mindless, so it's like perfect for me because I'm getting in the zone and then I'm just doing all my superstitions, and my skate goes on right and left. And then what else do I have? I think that's about it. Yeah.
Getting ready for the game, what is your go-to pump-up song, or do you have maybe a playlist, or what are some of those songs that are on that playlist that just like get you ready for a game?
Give me more. I love that song.
Okay, good call.
But I usually just listen to whatever. There's some country, usually some Jason Aldean. I love Nickelback. I always go to Nickelback. It always gets me fired up. But that's about it.
Love it. Well, yeah, you're from Alberta, so it would only make sense that you got to support the Alberta boys there. Is there someone in the dressing room that owns the music, and who is that, and what's played most often? Do you remember?
Oh, it'd be either Avery Myers or Emma Gentry. They're always on aux, and they always are playing like big booty remixes. So we always have those. But it's always a mix of rap. And then I always ask, I'll lean over to Jen because she sits right beside me, and I'll say, "Can you play some Nickelback?" And she'll play some for me. So
there it is. I was just gonna ask you. That was gonna be my one follow-up question: was how quickly does the Nickelback make an appearance? So it's good that you do that.
Yeah, usually right before we go on the ice, because I like lean over and I was like, "Can you please play Nickelback?" And she's always like, "Yeah, I got you, Dayle." And you know, usually hypes everyone up.
Of course, yeah. What is something that people don't know about you?
Well, people that know me now probably don't think I'm that shy anymore. People that know me in high school, they probably know how shy I am. But I also play guitar. I've been playing since grade 6, maybe 7. But I'm not like the best at it, but I can play like all your uh, minor chords and some major chords and some bar chords. So it's like I'm pretty musical, and I don't think people know that, and pretty crafty. So I have a side of me that's not athletic. It's different, so I can always pick up a guitar and just play if I really wanted to.
Nice. Yeah, it's good to have a little bit of balance, right? You don't have to be all hockey all the time.
And when I say I play guitar, it's like you can't play guitar, and then I was like, oh, I can. So I could usually play like whatever has chords, or if there's a picking pattern, I can usually pick it up in like 20 to 30 minutes. So I'm actually pretty decent, but not the best, but decent.
All right. Well, we're going to hold you to that. What's one word that your teammates would use to describe you?
Probably hardworking. I'd just say I just work hard all the time, and I know that's 2 words, but I couldn't think of one word. Probably determined, maybe. Very determined.
Ooh,
I don't
good
really
answer.
let a lot of things get in my way.
Good, yeah, and that's good. What's something that remains on your bucket list?
I've always wanted to go to Europe, so I mean, hopefully one day I will.
Anywhere in particular?
I always wanted to go to Greece. I've loved the movie Mamma Mia, so I've always wanted to go to Greece. And probably just go see the world. I think I want to see all the old buildings and history.
Cool, good answer. Love it. What's a lesson you've learned through your hockey journey that you wish more young players knew?
Be in the moment. Work as hard as you can in the moment, and you know, don't regret anything. So I think just enjoying where you're at is the biggest thing.
I want to say thank you, Dayle, for taking the time out of your off season, your busy off season, I'm sure, to join the show and to share your story and to be so thoughtful with your answers. It's been such a pleasure to have you, and I can't thank you enough for taking the time.
No, thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this with me too.
Of course, yes. And just know you're welcome back anytime.
Thank you.
All right. And for Dayle Ross, I'm Chris Sinclair, and this has been Rinkside Rundown. Cheers.